Me, Dan.
Alex and Joey too. Got a show for me and you. Games and films and tunes they'll skew. Some laugh, some groans, it's nothing new. Things I hated, let's dive in. Games and movies, where do I begin? Tunes we love, but still we spin. Laughs and cringe, it's where we win. Da, da, da.
Welcome back to Thanks I Hate It, the show where we take media that our friends wouldn't normally enjoy and maybe try and find something that makes them enjoy it. I am joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Joey.
I wondered where you were going with wonderful co-host. That's the nicest thing you've said to me for the whole time you've been on the pod. How are you,
I've got to be
Alex?
nice every so often. Good, how are you?
I'm very, very well. We're not joined by Tim, as our jingle, didn't spoil, absolutely enlightened us to. We are joined by a man that goes by many names. Many things we've called him over the years, and I've got a few of them just here for you. You might know him as the Pod God. You might know him as Dan the Man, the Tottenham fan. You may know him as Mr. Mass Effect, maybe even Daniele the Maniele, one of my personal favourites. Forever young Dan Francisco, the loveliest man on the planet. Dynamic Dan is a new one that I came up with today. The Sexy Beast, I like to call him, one half of one of my favourite podcasts ever. We're joined by the lovely, the incredible, I was going to say girthy then. I don't know if we want to say that. Dan P. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm blushing. I am blushing. Thank you for that wonderful intro. A lot of nice things said about me. So, yeah,
all of them through.
I usually just call him Dan.
No, I'm very good, thank you. Glad to be on here. I'm collecting these appearances now, so I think I just need to be on cutscenes, and I've done the GCP set then, I think.
Is there a Mass Effect movie?
Well, I'm back, and release a DLC for you.
Yeah, well, sounds like you need to put some work in, Dan.
Yeah, come on, you've only been on 3 of the shows.
4 if you count the ones that we don't do anymore.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about old dead shows on this channel. We're here to talk about things that we might hate. And today, we've brought Dan along because this was a Dan suggestion. So, Dan, would you like to explain yourself?
So, I've chosen this. So, yeah, it's Mass Effect 2. And the reason for doing this is it's a little known secret that it's one of my favourite series of games.
No.
So I do love the series. And I think, Joey, in conversations we've had, and also I was going for a walk the other day, and I love listening to the back catalogue of Game Club Pod, as I often do. And I think it was the Baldur's Gate episode. And Joey, you said in that, as you've said to me, you don't like reading games, and you class Mass Effect as a reading game. And then I remember texting you at the time because the brain, the light bulb above my head went off and said, but there's so much more reading in Baldur's Gate 3 than there is in Mass Effect. So I think I contacted yourselves and said, get Mass Effect on.
Yeah, this isn't a I hope he likes Mass Effect. This is a why don't you hate Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
No, thanks, I hate it. This is please change your mind and hate something.
This is why don't you hate it?
Why don't you hate this? That is fair. All of that is true. I count Mass Effect as a reading game. Maybe my opinion's changed now. Who knows? But I said it out loud on the Baldur's Gate episode, as you said, and I did indeed receive a text from Dan. Quite, I wouldn't say angry, because I don't know if you can do angry, Dan, but perturbed that I'd called it a reading game. And I feel like I said in a very recent episode that one of the games that I cut from our running order was Bluey the video game, because I didn't want anyone saying bad things about Bluey. So well done for coming on, knowing I previously said I didn't enjoy Mass Effect, and this being one of your favourites. Who knows where the episode will take us?
It's an interesting one because, I'm never going to say sort of Alex or Joey, you must like this game. But I do love, if I can share a game or a book or an album with someone and they like it, you get that feeling of happiness that somebody else likes it. I mean, if you don't like it, well, we may have to reconsider our friendship. But other than that, it's all good.
So how many hours have you got in this game, Dan?
Too many to count. I was having a look. The Legendary Edition alone, I looked earlier, and I've got 13 days. So that's all. That's over all three. So that's over all three games. But so that's just the Legendary Edition. I probably played the original versions. Well, I'd probably say about the same amount of time. So yeah.
And did I see on Twitter, formerly known as X, that you started playing it again?
Yeah, literally last night, as we're recording, I started it last night, and that's because I think the Gaming Views podcast might be doing something Mass Effect-y in November. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
That sounds like you're stepping into Chatsu's turf with themed months.
No, just it's November is Mass Effect month, so yeah, I think it's
Is it?
All November, every November.
Yeah, well, N7 note. So the 7th of November has been claimed by Mass Effect fans as
yes,
as
of course it has.
Yeah, so we'll do something on that. So yeah, it was my yearly playthrough last night. So yeah, my wife is also looking forward to that because I've said a number of times that's one of the games where she'll sit down and watch. And if anyone's listened to this, heard the quiz on the Gaming Views pod a little while ago with Dan H surprised me, and I failed miserably on some of the easiest questions. She is probably the better person to have had on here because I think she's remembered and takes in more of the lore of the game than I do.
I feel like I would need to come up with a different list of names for your wife. Mrs. Casting Views.
Yeah. So yeah, I might call on her if you ask me anything too tricky.
Nice.
Yeah. Kind of phone a friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's Mass Effect 2 that we're specifically looking at. This is what Dan requested. And I believe, Joey, you and I played the Legendary Edition, which is fancier graphics, new weapons, new this, that, and the other, made to be a little bit nicer and a little bit more palatable for a modern audience, as it were, because say Mass Effect 2 was released back in 2010, so it's a 15-year-old game now. The Legendary Edition 2021, making it just 4 years, so it's a little bit shinier and a little bit nicer. For anyone who's been living under a rock for 15 years, it is a action RPG third-person shooter developed by BioWare and published by EA, everyone's favorite publisher. It originally came out on PC 360 and the PlayStation 3, and then the Legendary Edition, I've not got it here, but I assume it released on later generation consoles as a Legendary.
Yeah.
It did.
So
you have got 7,000 different avenues that you can play this game. You play as Commander Shepard, who is a self-insert character with some history. You can play as male Shepard or femme Shepard. That is absolutely up to you. And I'm going to let Dan give us a little bit of an overview of the story of Mass Effect, given how much he knows about the game.
So what I will say is the reason I've chosen 2 for this, because people might think it's a bit odd why I've chosen the middle one, is knowing already that I've got a battle with Joey on this. I thought that the first one is obviously the obvious stop to start with, or the start game, but it's probably the clunkier game, or the more, I would say, wordy. You don't want to go in Mass Effect 3 because that's the end of it. Mass Effect 2 feels like the perfect one to jump into, or to try to convince Joey. So the plot basically it follows Mass Effect 1, of course, and in that you play, you're still playing Commander Shepard, and it's all about yourself discovering the threat, or the imminent threat, of the Reapers, who are this race of creatures that I think it's 50,000 years, they come and ultimately wipe out sort of form of sort of biological life. So they'll wipe out, and it's a way of starting over again, so synthetics are left alone. And yeah, the first game is, about understanding the threat that's coming and, sort of building up the awareness. Number 2 is, well, it's kind of, you start off, and I mean, actually, I want to put the question to you too. What did you think of the opening? Because for me, playing it with fresh eyes in 2010, this was a stunning opening, especially as a fan of the first. So what did you both think of that?
Alex, do you want to go first?
I'll be honest, the only bit I remember from the opening is you get amnesia and you have to walk around a station for a bit.
Wow, I think that does it a disservice, really. So I enjoyed the opening. I didn't do the comic book that was suggested to me by yourself and the lovely Josh from Talking Smack. Listen to Talking Smack, but I felt like the bit on the ship. The ship was the Normandy, right? I'm not going mad there. Yeah, the bit on the Normandy where it's all blowing up and you're in a big old space fight and you got to go through the bits in outer space. I was on a call to you, Dan, when I was playing it, and I was like, "This isn't speaking at all. This is action. This is cool. This is cinematic.
This is Michael Bay all over the place.
This is Michael Bay all over the place," and it was really good, actually. I really enjoyed the opening bit. The opening part was probably, 20 minutes until you got through to the amnesia section. But I thought it was clever. I thought it was cinematic, and I thought it was a really good setup for people fresh to the series, because the risk with going straight into the second one, as you said, is that you have an assumption of knowledge based on the first game. But I don't feel like you needed that assumption of knowledge to go into the big battle on the Normandy, where you're being absolutely overtaken by your enemy.
You're getting marmalised.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed the start of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously spoilers here, but yeah, it's sort of, for me, it's just because a game starting off where you, and as the main character, ultimately get killed within the first 20 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was just shocking at the time. And yeah, then you lead into Alex's bit with the amnesia. But I thought that's again why the second game was a good one to start with, because there is that more actiony. The action in it gets ramped up.
It's a clever way to give a bit more of a cohesive story between 1 and 2 as well, because obviously as you go through 1, you're leveling up, you're getting better at your bionics, and you're getting better at your space magic and everything, and you would expect that going into Mass Effect 2, logically speaking, from a story point of view, you should be starting Mass Effect 2 with those same abilities, those same power that you've got there, which then would just make, if that was the case, Mass Effect 2 would be an absolute mental, it'd be a Souls-like for a new player to the game. So they kind of, they almost like clean slate Shepard, don't they? Because he gets blown up in his ship's disappeared, his crew's scattered to the 7 winds, and he wakes up on a ship with amnesia, not really knowing where he is or what he's doing. So you're continuing a story without gatekeeping it.
Yeah, and it's also a good way of splitting you up from the crew from the first game as well. So it's, to Joey, I think what you said actually is a really good point about, and Alex, you're backing up as well, that it makes it an easier entry, because the first game you built up a crew. In this, you're starting with new people. So even as a seasoned player, the Miranda character and the Jacob character are new to you. So it's a clever way of breaking those links from the first game.
I think that's I've played a bit of Mass Effect 1, not loads of it. I've played much more of Mass Effect 2 than I did of 1. I did play Mass Effect 1 a very, very, very long time ago, but I probably did about 6 hours before I got tired of that visual novel. But I was going to ask you, Dan. I know that there is a couple of returning characters, but there's a considerable time gap between 1 and 2. I think it's 2 years that Shepard is unconscious. Is that right, or is it less than that?
I think it's actually around 4 years, I thought.
4 years. So yeah. Considerable gap.
Yeah.
How many of the characters, because what we should say is, to me, Mass Effect 2 felt like a heist game where you're basically you spend the game assembling a crew. And I wondered how many of those crew members were returning characters, and if they felt like they fit into Mass Effect 2 naturally.
Yes, so in Mass Effect 2, you've got a number of characters who return. So the main ones are Garrus, So you've got Garrus, Tali, and Liara. So
Okay.
yeah, they're ultimately the main ones, and Captain Anderson. And yeah, well, there's the thing is there are decisions you might make in the first one that depends on whether certain characters come back. So there's a big one that a lot of people will have a view on. There's in the first game, there's a mission where you have to sacrifice a character, one or two,
Okay.
and you'll go for one or the other. And also there is a couple, so that's we'll say now you've got Caden and Ashley. So there's a mission where you have to sacrifice one. You've also got Rex, who's another popular character who's with the Krogans. He's a big kind of like tank type guy. And it's possible to have him killed off in the first game as well. So if you don't, he comes back. He's not one of your crew in the second game, but he makes an appearance.
And my other question is, I know quite famously Mass Effect was one of the first games that really published itself on your decisions matter to the story. And I mean, you've been saying it there. It obviously does make a difference because some people appear, some people don't. By skipping Mass Effect 1 and the interactive comic at the start of Mass Effect 2, how does it decide, like, what is the predetermined path? Is that the one that they've just decided is like canon lore for Commander Shepard, or is it?
Oh, having never not done that, I don't know.
Oh.
I think they do take a set that I've read somewhere that they if you do neither, there is a set there is a set background. I don't think it's specifically because of lore. I think it's just what they've chosen,
what they decided at the time.
Yeah,
because one of the decisions you have to make in the comic, which comes from Mass Effect 1, is deciding who controls the Citadel, isn't it? Who's like the commander of the Citadel, and that's quite a big sort of world affecting change there, because the two options you have, and I could not tell you for the life of me what their names are, but they have very different ideas for how they want to run the Citadel and how they want to run things in a grander scheme. So it does make quite big differences. So
yeah,
and it's not one of those where they can just go, well, you've not made a decision, so no one's running the Citadel.
Yeah, no, I think what it is, and even I'll be a critic of this, the decisions you make ultimately, I don't think are any bigger than where a character might be, whether a character appears. So Ashley or Caden, you kill them off, they won't appear. If obviously if you kill Rex, he won't appear. Alex, what you're saying, you've got Udina or Anderson you can put in charge of the council. At the end of the first game, you can save or let the council die because of the Reaper, or kind of like the attack that happens on the Citadel there. But a lot of the decisions, Joey, I thought you were going to say, if you don't do that, what are you missing out? Or if you do choose it, what's it? To me, ultimately, it means very little other than some of the conversations you might overhear. So there is some clever things as you're walking past characters. They talk about you, or you might hear a news report and it will talk about what you did on a planet. And it's more like in, oh my God, and it's the Rachni. Yeah, in the first game, there's a chance to save the Rachni, which is a race. And if you save the Queen there in one of the later games, it might actually be 3. The Queen speaks to you through another character that you come across. So it's more little touches like that rather than massive game changing.
Are you saying that the effect is not mass? It's just minor.
It's minor.
It has a mass effect on my heart each time I play it. That's what I will say.
And each time you play it, do you choose something different intentionally, or do you have a set route that you enjoy that you want to take?
It's if it was a physical road, there'd be a groove that's about 20 foot deep. When I first played them originally, I did do differences. So I played as the Man Shep and Fem Shep. I did the Paragon and Renegade runs through. So I have played different options. But now I've just got into a routine. I play as the same shepherd. I do the same decisions because that's my shepherd. That's my story. And also, Mrs. Casting Views wouldn't let me change anything either. She does want me to make him a mean shepherd.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's the same every single time. It's the same every single time, but I love it.
It's a nice little lead on to the other sort of system in this game, is you have a morality system of Renegade or Paragon, which, again, depending on how far gone you are in either of those changes, dialogue options, changes, cutscene options as well. So it's a game that I think for the time that it came out, because you got to remember this originally came out in 2010, it was quite ahead of its time in terms of stuff like that, because a lot of games at the time were very linear, very story driven. These are your options. This is where you're going regardless. But Mass Effect kind of went, well, you've got this main quest that you need to be doing. You need to be getting these people, going here, doing that. But how you do that and how you get there, totally up to you. You can go A to B, or you can go A to C to D to E. It's totally your choice. And I think that's what gave it quite a lot of popularity at the time, I think, was the fact that it was even though it was a single-player game, it was a very open-world feeling single-player game, which at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of them around because of the limitations of the technology.
Fair.
Yeah.
Good job, BioWare.
It just felt like an epic game. It was a story, I'm one for stories. I like a story in a game, and this just felt like a cliche term. It felt like a space opera, or a space soap opera. Sorry.
I prefer a space opera. I think it's got a nice ring to it.
Just Commander Shepard up on stage, belting a show tune out,
hitting the high notes.
Well, the music to the Mass Effect games as well I think is awesome. It would be another soundtrack. I almost did press the button on purchasing the vinyl recently.
That was going to be my next question. Do you own the vinyl?
I don't. I bought it, then quickly cancelled it, and I think I will be buying it again. There's
nice.
because the music is great in it as well.
Nice.
Yeah, there's no denying that. And I want to talk briefly on gameplay mechanics, because to me, the combat system felt quite nice. I enjoyed how the guns played and how the space magic played. What I cannot stand, and I'm sorry, Dan, I'm going to say something negative about your beloved here. The Gears of War-esque movement system irritates me to no end, because it is slow, it is clunky, and it is the same button to duck behind cover as it is to jump over the cover. And I found it, when you come from playing quite more fluid, more open movement in FPSs, when you think of things like Call of Duty, it's very fluid movement. This was just so, and it's the same problem I had with the Gears of War franchise. It's too slow, it's too clunky, and it drives me mad.
What's your take, Joey, on that?
I mean, I don't mind the Gears of War combat system. I think it fit quite nicely within this. I feel like it's a game that I'm having trouble comparing its level design to, because whilst you have, exactly as Alex said, it's non-linear, but it's broken up into individual levels where you don't have a set path that it forces you to take. But those levels in themselves are quite linear. Yeah. They are quite A to B. It's just you don't have to. So the planet I chose to go to first wouldn't necessarily be the same that Alex and Dan chose to go to first. So maybe it was your choice in planet, but I didn't feel like the Gears of War style combat hindered it, because I actually felt like it was quite I'm trying to be really careful how I say this, because I don't want to make it sound negative, but it was quite corridor based. Yeah. You're quite long, narrow environments that you're trying to take out multiple enemies. So actually, I think that duck and cover, waist high wall system works quite well here. I think I could tell that I thought it worked for me, because I never thought, oh, this is annoying. Why are they copying Gears of War? That never even occurred to me, that it was almost imitating another game or borrowing from another game to do that. It just felt natural within the game that it is.
I think definitely, and again at the time, going from 1 to 2, you could absolutely see the Gears of War influence on it, because all of a sudden, as you said, you've got these waist-high walls. They were everywhere. And, again, it's that classic trope of you go into a room, you see that, there's a battle coming up. But yeah, I think the levels are fairly linear. They are fairly narrow. I will always say it's not the perfect set of games. But what I will say, again, another reason for choosing 2 is the gunplay does feel better than 1. It's, they did refine it a lot. So it does feel more of a shooter, whereas the first game, even though in the Legendary Edition they probably have tightened it up a bit, it feels like a shooting mechanic put into an RPG game, whereas 2 feels more like a shooting game with the RPG elements put into it.
This is when Alex said let's talk about the gameplay mechanics. I was also almost surprised you went straight to the combat, because to me this didn't feel like a combat centric game. It felt like a story driven, morality inspired game with combat.
It's a game with chatting.
Just
chats left, right, and center. That's it.
Yeah, and I will say, for the big negative, I would say, even though it's not negative, but if I'm going to criticize it, let's say that, is the mechanic of having to talk to all the characters after to progress the mission. I mean, that's the best way to do it, because you've got to show interest in people, right? But I would much rather, because the amount of times sometimes I've come on for a mission and then you have to talk to everyone, and they're obviously on 3 different levels of the ship as well, or more, so you've got to find and talk to them, same lines. And like my wife saying, why is that person saying the same thing over again? It's like, because I haven't triggered the next point for it. And yeah, that can be a bit frustrating. But yeah, it's either talking or shooting, with more talking than shooting.
Okay. Alex, I think we need to ask a question.
Go on.
I think we need to say whether you hated it or didn't hate it.
Yeah, let's start with our guest. So, Dan, so that I don't have to edit anything, can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and I'll play the appropriate jingle?
Here's a big surprise for you.
He didn't hate it.
Surprising no one. Dan, go ahead. Tell us why.
I think it's just because it's a great game. No, I love the story. I love, I am very much I love relationships between people. I love, even in films, it's those buddy films, I love all that. I love the fact that, a lot of the people, they've got they're not always happy stories. So, we haven't really touched on characters, but like the Jack character in the game, I think is an absolutely fascinating character. Apart from the outfit, but I love the intricate or the branching relationships you get with them. The shooting is great, and it's just a great overall story with an awesome final mission. And as Joey said, it's a heist game at heart at the end.
Yeah, I think to briefly touch before we go on to Joey, to touch on to the stuff about characters, it's one of those games where there are, because of what it is, there are a lot of inconsequential characters that you will come across through the game. People who mean nothing to the story, really, but they're all fully characterized, they're all fully voice acted. A lot of effort in this game went to the character production, to making as many of them as possible feel unique, even though it might just be a character that you see for 5 minutes and then never see him again. It's had as much work put into it as the likes of, Tali, Miranda, maybe not Shepard because he's got quite a lot going for him, but you tend to find with a lot of story-driven games where there's a lot of background characters, and Baldur's Gate was guilty of this to some degree. The background characters kind of get sort of, this is Dave, he's a orc, he's got a big sword, he goes every so often at you. But this game, they made sure that all the, even like the vendors, where you find Morden, can't remember what that planet was called, but anyway, even then the vendors are all very unique, and you remember that, that weird slug monster who talks in the third person, he's the one that's selling the Dragon Knight armor and things like that. Good character design. Joey, you know what to do.
Well, he didn't hate it.
Yay.
Well, he didn't hate it, Dan. I was happy to see your face light up then. Unfortunately, this isn't one of our video pods, so the listener won't get to see Dan's little tears of joy. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I didn't particularly... I'm not going to rush back and play it after this recording, but I'm not gutted that we did play it for the episode. I thought that Mass Effect 2 defied my expectation with the level of action. There was still too much reading for me.
Fair.
And
That's
I
fair.
think that I commented to you when I first started it, you could tell that it came out on the 360 because I think one of my gripes with games like this is it's okay having conversations and conversations to unveil your story. It felt like a lot of lore dump at the start, but that might be because I've not been involved with Mass Effect 1 and I completely understand that. But I feel like my gripe with games like this is the conversation is camera shot of Shepard standing, talking, reverse, camera shot of the other person standing, talking, reverse, camera shot of Shepard standing, and it's just like A, B, A, B, A, B. And it didn't feel very dynamic within that conversation. And I realize it's probably a limitation of the time. I realize that they had a lot of conversations to get through, but I just wish there was something else going on the screen whilst I was having those conversations, because I have the attention span of a gnat. So that was something I didn't enjoy. What I did enjoy was the environments that you went to. I felt like every planet that you visited felt individual. It felt like they were really busy. It felt like one of the things that we love on this podcast, and we talk about it all the time, it feels like if you weren't playing that game, that world would live on without you and other things would happen without your existence. And that, to me, is really good game design and really good storytelling because you feel like part of something. I'm not saying it's always bad, but I'm not always a huge fan where your character is the center of everything. And I realize you're the main character, but here it feels like you're part of a bigger something. I enjoyed the squad mates the crewmates that you pulled together. Miranda was good. I know that Josh absolutely loves her, so maybe that's my bias towards that. But Mordin Solus,
yeah,
was also pretty good. I think it was the same planet that you found Garrus, which is the one that returns.
Yeah.
But I found Garrus was really cool, and I really liked the character design. I think if I was to go back and play this, I'd be interested in like, maybe what I should have done is focused on a single person at a time and really drilled down and done all of their missions and really got that loyalty with that one person and then move on to the next person. But because we were limited in time for this, I was like, fuck, I want to get everyone and know everyone that I can. So I kind of have a bit of a surface level relationship with all of the characters rather than anything too deep. And actually, I didn't go around and speak to them after every single mission, which means at the end of the game, I imagine that they all burst into flames or something. But yeah, didn't hate the game, didn't love it, but understand why people do.
I think that's fair.
Hey, if you like conversations and you like character building and relationship building, this is the game for you. If you don't, stick to Dark Souls. Alex, how did you feel about Mass Effect 2?
I don't need to give myself a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so...
Well, he didn't hate it.
Clean sweep. Well done, Dan.
I'm a big fan of RPGs. I'm a big fan of... I quite enjoy shooters. I'm a big fan of anything involving space. So this kind of ticked a lot of boxes for me. Obviously, I griped on about the movement in the movement system, and while I didn't particularly vibe with it, I understand that is a me problem and not necessarily a problem with the game. I think if you want to play something that is a good story with good gameplay mechanics around it, this is a good option to go for, and it's available through Game Pass. So really, if you've got Game Pass, there's no reason not to try it.
And if you're not on Game Pass, Steam, it's always in the Steam sale. I think I saw it for like £3. for the Legendary Edition, which is 3 full Mass Effect games. And while we've been talking, the game, if you want to be a completionist, is 50 hours long. So Dan has completed it at least, 26 times to that level. So you're getting bang for your buck, and completionist would mean that you've absolutely rinsed this game for all it's worth. I believe the Legendary Edition includes all the DLC as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely worth playing, I would say, across the
I
board.
agree.
Any
No, I
final
agree.
thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, no,
Dan?
I'm really pleased. Well, thank you. I mean, like I said, even if you both had hated it, it's just, fair play for doing it. But I'm glad I can walk away from here knowing that our friendship is still intact. So, yeah.
I actually hated every second of my playthrough, but I just
The
didn't
three of
wanna
us can
upset
go off
I was
on
going
a
to say, is
mission
this where you
together.
edit it? Once I walk away from this recording, is this where you cut in the, yeah, God, I hated this.
Damn
it's
it, we've been
awful.
rumbled again, Joey. Rumbled again. So, there's not much left to say, really. Dan, where can the people find you?
There is something to say. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, no.
And Alex. I have a 5-question quiz for Dan to redeem himself. After, I'm sorry, if you haven't listened to Game Reviews, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, skip the one where Dan doesn't do so well in the Mass Effect quiz because it's not a true reflection of the man. So I have 5 questions, Dan.
Yep.
They are multiple choice.
Right.
Would you like the multiple choice, or would you like to go for hard mode to really prove your dedication to Mass
Let's
Effect?
do hard mode, and then I might ask for it for
Yeah,
the. Let's go hard. Let's go Dark Souls mode.
No problem. So this is specifically on Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
And Alex, feel free to jump in and answer, because I know that you're also a veteran of the game.
Huh?
You are now. Question 1. What is the name of the shadowy human organization that revives Commander Shepard at the start of Mass Effect 2?
Cerberus.
Correct. I
I've
realised...
also, sorry, go on, sorry.
No, please.
I was going to say, what I've got to do, though, is what my folly was in my episode was answering too quickly and not thinking, so I've got to make sure.
I'll be honest, my friend, what can I call him? Chat GPT gave me this quiz.
Okay.
And it didn't give me the answers, which I've only just noticed. So now I've got the answers. But you answered that so quickly and with such confidence, I've given you the point anyway. Question 2.
It's correct.
I'm gonna have to give you the multiple choice for this because it's quite vague otherwise.
Okay.
Which new feature was introduced to Mass Effect 2 compared to Mass Effect 1? Is it A, unlimited ammo for all weapons? B, thermal clips in the ammo management system? C, the Mako exploration vehicle? Or D, real-time space combat?
It was B.
That is correct.
Yeah.
It is B, thermal clips.
Yeah, because that was a big difference between the first second. In the first, you had no ammo, you just had a heating mechanic. So when the gun overheated, you couldn't use it, but it would then cool down and you could use it. So there's no reloading or anything.
That sounds incredibly frustrating. Why do you like these games, Dan?
I don't know.
Question 3. What is the purpose of loyalty missions in Mass Effect 2?
One is to be friends, but also it's ultimately it's the way of trying to ensure their survival at the end of the game, the suicide mission.
That is correct. It is to guarantee the survival in the final mission. Question 4. During the final mission, what determines whether squad members live or die? Would you like me to give you the multiple choice for this?
Yeah, because there's a number of things. So, yeah, let's hear.
A, random chance rolls at the end. B, Shepard's Paragon/Renegade score.
Right.
C, players' choices, assigning role and completing loyalty missions. And D, the difficulty setting.
Yeah, it's C. But yeah, there's a whole host of things. There is the loyalty missions. It's you had to have bought certain upgrades for the ships, etc. But there is also a really funny thing, which if you don't know, and you won't know at the first time you play it. So there's a specific mission, I think it's the IFF mission. After that, there's an invisible clock. And if you do a couple of missions, it's fine. But I think something like 3 or 4 missions and half the crew are going to die, whatever you do. And if you do more than 4, everyone dies apart from Dr. Chuckruss. And I think then Shepard dies because of that. So, yeah.
And they never tell you this. It's just...
No, yeah.
Oh, that doesn't seem very fair. Right, final question. Which downloadable squad mate was introduced through DLC in Mass Effect 2? Is it? I'm not going to do full names. I'll just give you the first names. A. Zaid, B. Garrus, C. Miranda, or D. Thane.
As DLC, that was definitely Zaid.
There you go, Dan.
I've redeemed
Right, he's
myself.
redeemed
Is restored.
himself.
I could sleep
You-
again.
Live up to the one of the names I gave you at the start, Mr. Mass Effect. Well
See,
done, sir.
I can sleep again.
Phew. It's been months. Sorry for interrupting you, Dan. I just wanted to give you a chance to restore some honor to your family name. And I will not interrupt you again. Please tell everyone all about your fantastic podcast.
No, thank you. And again, thanks for humouring me with this choice and having me on for it. Yeah, you can find me and my awesome co-host Dan H at Gaming Views. So we release a main episode every Tuesday, and we do game reviews every Friday. Do check us out, and across all social media, just look for Gaming Views.
I don't know if Dan's done himself and Gaming Views enough credit there. Gaming Views is exceptional content, and if you're not listening to it already, I encourage you to go and subscribe, because Dan and Dan are just awesome. The chemistry is excellent. The conversation is light, fun, and completely bingeable. And for a podcast that hasn't been going for too long, it's just the best time. And I look forward to it every single Tuesday, and then the reviews on a Friday.
Thank you.
We've made the joke a couple of times that Gaming Views is stepping into our turf. At this point, they own our turf, because, let's be real,
No, I think we're brilliant complement to each other, I think.
I hope so. I hope we can live up to that very high bar that you've set.
that's why we keep
Thanks, Dan.
hijacking each other's shows. And from us, we obviously release weekly with different shows. Next week, looking at our little schedule here, because we do actually plan this stuff ahead of time. Next week, you get a BAP. Episode 6, and all they've given me is the title of Dungeon. So find out what that is. The following week, we're on to a cutscenes where Joey's going to take us through Dead Rising: The Watchtower. As he ascends into heaven on his screen. Following that, we're back to a mainline episode, Citizen Sleeper 1, and then we cycle right back round to Thanks I Hate It, where Tim will be taking us through his Super Meat Boy.
Yay. I like how you did all of that. We never normally do that at the end, but Dan put us to shame with his plugging of his podcast.
He did. He absolutely
He did.
did. I'm just showing off. Any final words before I play the jingle, gentlemen?
Watch Star Trek.
Play Mass Effect.
Watch Love Island.
Me, Dan.
Alex and Joey too. Got a show for me and you. Games and films and tunes they'll skew. Some laugh, some grows, it's nothing new. Things I hated, let's dive in. Games and movies, where do I begin? Tunes we love, but still we spin. Laughs and cringes where we win. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Stop.